Round two. Let's do it again.
Round two, and now we don't have just some amorphous discussion. It's called Tribe Talk. So this
Yay,
is
branding.
episode 2 of Tribe Talk. Awesome, man. Well, I'm glad that we can do this again. We weren't sure initially if we would have enough to kind of like report on and discuss in 1 week, but we were certainly proved wrong. There's been a lot going on here, so I'm excited to dive in.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement. So we may be back more frequently. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, and we'll see if we can get some other team members in here too. Hence the tribe piece of all this. Cool. Well, I figured I'd lead off with something that I saw this week. A common feature that we use as marketers on Facebook is that when we see ads, we're not just interested in them as consumers, but we're also interested in what's going on behind the scenes. And so oftentimes we're looking at, why am I seeing this ad, right? It's the little drop-down menu that most of us have, or that we all have rather, but we check in on from time to time. And when I was doing that this time, I actually saw a new level of transparency that Facebook had trotted out. And it was interesting. It was not just who was the advertiser and kind of what their targeting parameters were. It was actually, here was the data broker that they acquired their custom audience from. But then here was the media agency that was buying out of their own account. And then it was the brand. So we actually saw 3 different parties involved kind of in this why am I seeing the ad, kind of pull back the curtain feature. So I figured I'd lead off with that because I know that there's been some changes recently to kind of what Facebook's doing there. So what are you seeing on the Facebook transparency efforts?
Yeah. Transparency is the buzzword of 2019 when it comes to Facebook, Instagram. So they did make a lot of moves around the why am I seeing this? But something recent they announced is actually the culmination of something that they started back last year in 2018. So last year, Zuckerberg announced that they were going to be rolling out a new tool to help control that data that's being shared from other sources. So other sources would mean stuff that happens outside of Facebook for its users. So you go to a website and they have a Facebook pixel on it. You get into an app and they have the SDK tied in. You interact with the service and they upload data to Facebook via an API, or you use an OAuth login, sign in as Facebook to a service like Spotify. Those are all ways that other sources other than Facebook provide data into Facebook's algorithm. They now are rolling out a tool, and the exact rollout date has not been set, but they're rolling it out in the next few weeks that is supposed to help users control what of those data points they allow to feed in. So in theory, and of course we haven't actually seen this, so we'll see what it actually looks like. In theory, you could be able to say, hey, listen, I don't want my website browsing data from the Facebook pixel being fed in. Like, I don't want you to consider that. Like, maybe I was buying a gift for somebody on a website and I don't want to be retargeted 27 times with that same product because it's not for me. Like, I don't have an interest in it. It's for my friend. It's for my niece. It's for my wife. It's for whatever. So the exact application is yet to be seen. But the real potential here is that we could see a massive drop in the ability to target people based on that data. If a bunch of people opt out, that means less data sources. It means the algorithm is less effective, and it means some of those targeting categories may go down. So again, this is lots of speculation. It remains to be seen, but we'll see what the impact is. Facebook claims to be doing this for transparency and control. We've also seen companies do stuff like this before, and then when it impacts the revenue from advertising, they pull back on it. So very interested to see how this plays out for advertisers in the coming months.
Well, what's funny though is we've kind of seen this straddling, if you will, from Facebook over the last year. Like, since they kind of got into hot water and we're starting to, getting called before Congress and what have you, we're seeing like these kind of almost public-facing maneuvers, but also trying to preserve relationships with advertisers and not disrupt their main revenue stream. Case in point was when they removed all the third-party data targeting, last year in 2018. But if you want that data, you can still go to Epsilon, Datalogix, what have you, and kind of bring that data back onto the platform. Facebook's just not going to natively kind of integrate it. So they can posture and say, we've taken extra steps to privacy, but functionally, like, an advertiser can still use that data set. So there's this very kind of political, like, maybe line that they're trying to walk, and I totally get it. You're trying to, kind of serve two masters, but it'll be interesting to see how this fleshes out, moving forward. LinkedIn kind of made our headlines again. What's going on the LinkedIn front?
Yeah, so the theme at LinkedIn is playing catch up to Facebook, as it has been for several years now, at least on the advertising front. So just about the time that Facebook announced that they were retiring the info and ads tab on pages, they've moved instead to the ads library, and we can talk about that another time. LinkedIn is introducing the info and ads tab, which is basically you can go to any LinkedIn page, you can click this info and ads tab, and you can see sponsored content that page has run in the last 6 months. Now, this was announced mid-May, and they say it's rolling out globally over the next couple of weeks. But this could be a big deal for folks in the B2B space who are trying to do more competitor research and evaluate, well, hey, I know this competitor is running ads. What are they saying in those ads? Are they using video? Are they, using certain language? What are they offering in their ads? So this is a big deal for them because, again, it's claimed to be about transparency, but from an advertiser impact, it's really more so about seeing what your competitors are doing. So some of the unique offerings and the unique edge that you can get, like those are going to disappear faster because a week after you put it out, someone else can have something very similar. So if you're on the cutting edge, you got to be faster, and if you're not, then you're going to be able to catch up more easily with this update.
Well, I think it's especially an advantage now on LinkedIn if you're doing competitor research because, as we know, LinkedIn is just so much more expensive. I think last time I checked, the floor was a $2 cost per click, and you're more likely to pay 8, 9, 10, and above per click. So it's even more important to be able to kind of understand maybe what somebody else has been testing already, and that represents a huge cost savings to you kind of in your testing funnel if you're in the same industry, reaching the same audience.
Definitely.
But JP, we're only 2 episodes in, and I'm already kind of seeing some of your predictions come to pass here, or at least some of your comments ringing true. But I mean, just last week, we're talking about the increased personalization that LinkedIn is trying to now roll out, and even just the rebranding of Microsoft Ads and how this is all-encompassing effort to really improve the experience. What else are we seeing on that front? It looks like they made some moves here even just this week.
Yeah. So as a reminder for our users, Microsoft owns LinkedIn. And so last time we talked a little bit about the fact that the moves that Microsoft made with Bing to move to Microsoft Ads were heavily focused on advanced artificial intelligence, machine learning, and personalization. Well, LinkedIn this week announced that they had acquired Drawbridge, which is an artificial intelligence and machine learning tech platform. And they've explicitly stated that their goal is they want to improve their matched audience reach, and they want to do a better job with attribution. So this is one of those things where if you upload an audience on Facebook, you may see a 50 to 70% match rate. On LinkedIn, you may see more like a 30% match rate. So getting some of these additional data points, getting some additional intelligence in should help improve that. But it also is going to help with saying, like, what is the impact of these ads downstream on events that occur offline, events that occur several weeks later, which again, in the B2B space is not uncommon to have, a 6-month sales process to where your ad may drive a lead tomorrow, but that lead may not do anything for 3 months. So very interesting to see what they're going to do with Drawbridge and how they're going to play it out. But you're starting to see a theme between the Microsoft properties and the ad platforms and the way they're really leaning into this tech-assisted approach.
Definitely, and our hope would be, given the kind of traditional expense of the LinkedIn advertising platform, that some of this personalization would give us even more bang for our buck and make it even more worthy for advertisers to try for their B2B clients.
Yeah,
awesome.
For sure.
Well, the internet, at least in the marketing kind of spheres, the echo chamber that is often digital marketing, was going nuts about something to do with influencers this past week. Let's get into that.
That's right. Influencers are dead again. Maybe, we think, we don't know. But in short, there was an article posted on BuzzFeed that really well encapsulates it, where it kind of shares the story of this one influencer. She's got several million followers, tried to launch a product line, needed to sell a certain number of shirts to meet the minimum commitment from her supplier, wasn't able to sell those. People said, oh my God, this person with 2 million influencers can't sell 36 shirts. Influencer marketing is dead. there's lots of commentary on this, lots of different angles at it. We're not going to go into all of that here. I definitely recommend going and reading up on it, reading the comments. I don't normally recommend reading the comments on stories, but in this case I actually do, because the different approaches at it are very interesting. There's conspiracy theories about it all being a ploy. There's commentary on the fact that the problem really wasn't, that she was an influencer, but the way she delivered it and the way she promoted it, or rather didn't promote it. There's commentary about the fact that this might have all been just a plot to help gain more traction, or the problem that really the aesthetic of her own personal brand didn't match this clothing brand. So there's all kinds of things that go into. What I really wanted to focus on here, though, is if anything, this proves to advertisers that influencer marketing is still the Wild West. It's so volatile. It's so all over the place. It's so unpredictable. So much so that there's actually been a coalition of brands and agencies and influencers that have come together, and they called themselves the Influencer Marketing Coalition, the IMC, because we need more acronyms. And they basically have said, like, hey, we know it's really tough to work with influencers. Like, we need to start standardizing this. There needs to be standardization around pricing, around how you vet influencers, or how you decide how you're going to work with them. And some of the big brands like Kellogg's and Unilever, they've even created their own standards for working with influencers. Like, they only work with them in a certain way, just because it's so hard to tell what's going to work. You say, hey, this person's got 2 million followers. I've got to be able to sell, 50 pieces of whatever. Maybe not. Maybe some of those followers were purchased. Maybe they're not engaged. Maybe they just like cute pictures. You need to figure that out. In fact, and Josh, you might be able to speak to this a little bit, but our approach to influencer marketing has been very bearish to this point. We've really been very slow to adopt, partially because of this volatility and unpredictability. But we've recently found a couple of these networks that we've been working with for clients where it's really kind of adjusted the approach to how we see influencer marketing. We've been recommending it for several of our folks.
Yeah, and so anybody who's interested in this kind of an independent council that's been created, we'll link to this in the post. If you follow the link back to whatever blog post this is living on, we'll have some resources there for you to check out. But no, I agree, JP. I think at least as Ember Tribe, like, our approach to influencer marketing in recent days, or maybe better called ambassador marketing, because we're dealing with more like micro influencers, but we don't see it as a sales strategy in and of itself. We see it as like a lead-off instrument to kind of create some of that brand awareness. But then also, I think even more importantly, create the authentic creative assets, almost like the UGC that you'd hope to get at scale, that we can then use in our campaigns, which are scalable. So I think, anybody who's just evaluating influencer marketing solely on the basis of sales would see an incident like this and think, oh my God, like, this is clearly dead. If I think she only sold 26 t-shirts out of the 2 million followers or something like that. And if you're evaluating it simply on the basis of sales, first of all, you're probably not approaching it in a more holistic mindset. But yeah, it'd be really interesting to see where this goes, and also how kind of the FTC weighs in and kind of makes their executive decision on what's what's allowed and what's not. So definitely a lot of evolution to happen there, it seems.
For sure. And this is, again, part of the shift with data availability and digital marketing. The initial swing was, oh my God, everything can be tracked back to a specific action. I'm going to make so much money because I can only pay for the things that drive purchases. We're now coming kind of full circle to where offline marketing has been for a while, which is, to get that final purchase, you may need 3 to 7 touches previous to that, which means money spent on awareness marketing is not necessarily wasted, as long as you can draw a line between that and the final event. So whether it's generating reviews, generating new user content, which can feed into other marketing campaigns, generating awareness, there's value in all of that. You just have to be clear up front about what your objectives are and whether these are the right tactics to take.
Totally. Well, JP, thanks for giving us the rundown. My sense is that we will probably see you again next week, or see other folks on the team next week as more developments roll out. But if you're watching this, we'd love for you to kind of keep tracking with us. And that means leaving a comment, adding your own kind of references, asking your own questions, and of course, subscribe if you want to keep in the loop with us here on Tribe Talk. We'll see you guys next week.